He should have said heal.
Ghoul, aka Stuart Carter Winthrop III, is one of the Jokers who followed the rejuvenated Joker. Ghoul is heavily into techno-goth music and has adapted the goth look into his costume. He mainly serves as the group's techie, manning the computers and technical equipment, but that doesn't mean he won't enter the fight. You see, Ghoul was never without his plastic Halloween pumpkin, which he kept filled with a number of monster-inspired weapons and tricks to help in said fights. And with that brief summary out the way, let me go ahead and break down how I'll be going through the movie. I will be specifically focusing on the scenes that contain Ghoul rather than going through the whole movie, so there will be some jumping around, story-wise, but just for the sake of focusing on Ghoul. And with that said, let's get right into it. During the heist at Gotham Shipping, Ghoul attempted to attack Batman but was knocked out, like 3 times. So, immediately diving into the character of Ghoul, the takeaway from this encounter with Batman is that Ghoul isn't much of a fighter, but he does have the heart of a fighter as he continues to get back up and try again. It also shows us that he isn't afraid to try, even if he knows that he'll fail. In the aftermath of the failed heist, Joker tasked Ghoul with locating another system scanner to make up for the one they lost in the earlier heist on their database. Ghoul manages to locate a list of the only other places to find the cutting-edge system scanners that they were searching for, including Wayne Enterprises, which had tight security. These scenes really show how capable Ghoul is at hacking, while also showing his overall vast knowledge of technology in general. What Ghoul lacks on the battlefield, he makes up for in intelligence, and that really separates him from the rest of the Jokers as he's the only one capable of doing these things. So, during the heist, in which Wolf and Dee Dee managed to cause a distraction, Ghoul waited outside of the security post until they were called, and while donning a gas mask, he hurled a gas grenade to immobilize the security. Chucko and Ghoul were then able to locate and steal the system scanner they were after. Now, if you couldn't already tell, Ghoul is a very loose tribute to Scarecrow, and this scene really highlights that. From just his overall design to the use of the gas grenade. However, it's obviously not a fear toxin grenade, so that's where the similarities end on that front. The Jokers were later dispatched by Joker to kill Terry McGinnis. During this assassination attempt, Ghoul held Dana hostage, although she briefly got free by stomping on his right foot. When Ghoul grabs a hold of her again, she tells him to let go of her, and Ghoul lets go of Dana while sarcastically complying with "sure, cutes" by throwing her off a ledge, inflicting serious injuries on her in the process, and most likely would have killed her if Terry didn't interfere and catch her. Shortly after, Ghoul was then knocked out. The takeaway from this scene is the act of him saying "sure, cutes" and dropping Dana, as it shows both his sadistic and quote comedic side. He views the act of complying, but in a twisted way, as a joke, and because of that, it's funny to him. Reasons like this is why Ghoul is a part of the Jokers to begin with. Another thing to touch on real quick, even though it's just weird, is how he licks his lips whenever he grabs a hold of Dana. It's just weird and unsettling, and truthfully, it's very sinister, and that's probably why they did it, but it still feels weird and wrong to watch. But moving on. Ghoul and the other Jokers were later dispatched to tie up a loose end by eliminating Jordan Price. When Batman cornered them on the ship, Ghoul used his jack-o'-lantern bucket to break a window for an alternate means of escape for the gang. The main takeaway from this scene is what Ghoul tells Jordan Price, and it's not much to be honest. All Ghoul tells Jordan is,
"I just decided you're a loose end."
And loose ends should be tied up.
and all this does is circle back to the quote comedic personality that I mentioned a minute ago. But now, moving on to the last scene that we'll be looking at. When the Jokers fought Batman at their hideout, Ghoul attempted to sneak attack Batman after Wolf was driven away by Ace, but Batman managed to give him a surprise punch while facing away from him, resulting in Ghoul getting knocked out. Ghoul was presumably arrested afterwards. Like I said in the beginning, Ghoul isn't much of a fighter, but that doesn't mean he won't try, especially if he feels like he can get a sneak attack in. However, his heart can only carry him so far in his battle against Justice. There's truthfully not much to say about Ghoul other than that he's a technological genius who has heart and is sadistic. However, even with that being the case, he still manages to be my favorite character from any of the Joker gangs. But now, moving on to his design and voice actor. As I said earlier, Ghoul is a loose tribute to Scarecrow, and it really shows. From the Scarecrow stitching on him, to the brown colors, and finally the hat. Even Ghoul's blonde hair looks like the hay that scarecrows would traditionally be made out of, which is possibly a reference and or callback to Scarecrow's design in Batman the Animated Series. Overall, his design not only stands out, but it also fits the universe perfectly. And now, we'll move on to Ghoul's voice actor, with that being Michael Rosenbaum, and for those that didn't know, he played Lex Luthor on Smallville, Kid Flash in Teen Titans, Johnny Charisma in Arkham Knight, as well as Martin X in both Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 and 3, and many other great roles. So huge shout out to Michael Rosenbaum. Before we get to the outro though, I have one last thing to tell y'all about Ghoul and Michael Rosenbaum. Michael Rosenbaum based the vocal inflection of Ghoul on the actor Christopher Walken. It's just a neat little detail that I thought I would share with y'all. And with all that said, this has been the ghastly geekiness of Ghoul. If you made it this far into the video, comment down your favorite member from any of the Joker gangs. I always love to hear y'all's opinions. Also, huge shout out to Mercenary X84 for still being a member. Much love to you, man. And with my ramblings out the way, it's been ugly, and I'll see y'all in the next one.